Every culture asks the same question: how did we get here? The book of Genesis opens with an answer, not a science textbook, but a story, a poem, a claim about meaning.
The information presented in this documentary is intended for general biblical interest and study. It is based primarily on the narratives found in the book of Genesis, viewed through Jewish and Christian perspectives on creation and biblical history. Additional insights from scholars and authors are included where appropriate, with sources credited in the references section for public review. All information is presented in good faith and reflects a Christian understanding of Scripture. Readers and viewers are encouraged to consult their own Bibles and other referenced materials for further study and verification. Topics have been selected to fit the scope of this documentary and may not cover every aspect of Genesis. While every effort has been made to provide accurate information, interpretations may vary among readers. Portions of this work were prepared with the assistance of AI tools. Introduction. The purpose of this documentary is to explore the book of Genesis and share fascinating insights that you may not have encountered before or perhaps have forgotten over time. Join us as we journey through the story of creation, examining God's relationship with humanity and the natural world. While preparing this documentary, I was deeply impressed by the vivid description of the Garden of Eden and the beauty of humanity's first home. The majesty of creation during that first week is truly remarkable. Does it not remind us of the greatness and goodness of God? Imagine Adam and Eve living in a world untouched by sin, surrounded by breathtaking beauty and perfect harmony. They needed no shelter from harsh weather because creation itself was flawless. Every sight, sound, and experience reflected the wisdom and love of the Creator, yet amid this beauty came tragedy. The serpent was then one of the wisest and most beautiful creatures on the earth. It had wings and, while flying through the air, presented an appearance of dazzling brightness, having the color and brilliancy of burnished gold. Resting in the rich-laden branches of the forbidden tree and regaling itself with the delicious fruit, it was an object to arrest the attention and delight the eye of the beholder. Thus, in the Garden of Peace lurked the destroyer, watching for his prey. Drawn by curiosity, Eve encountered the serpent, through whom Satan spoke words of deception. Fascinated by what she heard, she chose to disobey God's command and ate the forbidden fruit. Adam followed her example, and sin entered the world, forever changing the perfect home God had prepared for them. Through this documentary, we will explore the historical, spiritual, and theological themes of Genesis. We will examine the biblical account of creation, humanity's fall, the flood, and God's covenant promises through Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph. Along the way, we will consider the geography, patterns, lessons, and divine instructions found within the first book of the Bible. As we begin, remember this central truth. According to Genesis, humanity's identity begins with God. The Bible declares, "Let us make man in our image after our likeness." Humanity was created by God and designed to reflect His character and purpose. So come along as we journey through Genesis together and discover the beginnings of our world, our history, and God's plan for humanity. Creation Week. From chaos to order. The book of Genesis opens with one of the most powerful statements ever written. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. With these words, the Bible introduces God as the creator of everything that exists. Before there were nations, civilizations, mountains, oceans, or human beings, there was God. Genesis tells us that in the beginning, the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. The world existed in an unfinished state, unformed, empty, and covered in darkness. Yet even then, God's presence was there as the Spirit of God moved over the waters. Throughout history, scholars and biblical commentators have reflected on the meaning of this phrase, without form and void. Many understand it as describing a world that had not yet been organized for life, a creation awaiting God's creative touch. What followed was a remarkable display of divine power as God transformed disorder into beauty, purpose, and life. Then God spoke, "Let there be light." Instantly light pierced the darkness. Day was separated from night, and the first day of creation began. On the second day, God established the expanse of the heavens, separating the waters above from the waters below, On the third day, dry land emerged from the seas. Vegetation appeared across the earth, grass, plants, and fruit-bearing trees, each reproducing according to its kind. On the fourth day, God placed the sun, moon, and stars in the heavens to govern the seasons, days, and years. On the fifth day, the skies and seas were filled with living creatures. Birds soared through the air while fish and other creatures filled the waters. On the sixth day, God created the animals of the earth. Then came the crowning act of creation. God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness." According to the biblical account, humanity was created with unique dignity and purpose. Men and women were made in the image of God and entrusted with the responsibility of caring for the earth and its living creatures. When creation was complete, God looked upon everything he had made and declared it very good. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day, God ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made. The Genesis account presents a universe brought into existence not by accident or chance, but by the command of a purposeful creator. Repeated throughout the chapter is a simple phrase, "And God said." Creation responds to the voice of its maker. Light appears, waters divide, land emerges, life flourishes, order replaces chaos, purpose replaces emptiness. For believers, Creation Week stands as a testimony to God's wisdom, authority, and creative power. It reveals a God who not only created the world, but also designed it with intention, beauty, and meaning. And with the creation of humanity, the stage was set for the next chapter of the Genesis story, the Garden of Eden, humanity's first home. With the work of creation complete, God prepared a special home for the first human beings. According to Genesis, the Lord planted a garden eastward in Eden and placed Adam there to care for it. This was no ordinary garden. It was a place of beauty, abundance, peace, and direct fellowship with God. Every tree was pleasant to the sight and good for food. A river flowed through the garden, bringing life and nourishment to everything it touched. The Garden of Eden represented the perfect relationship between the Creator and his creation. There was no sin, suffering, fear, or death. Adam lived in harmony with God, with nature, and with the world around him. Genesis tells us that God formed Adam from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. In that moment, man became a living being. Humanity was not an accident of nature, but the deliberate work of a loving creator. Yet God observed that one thing was incomplete. It is not good that the man should be alone. Meet Adam's need for companionship. God caused a deep sleep to come upon him. From one of Adam's ribs, he created a woman and brought her to the man. When Adam saw her, he exclaimed, "This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh." Thus, according to Scripture, the first marriage was established by God himself. Adam and Eve became the first family and the foundation of human society. Christian writer Ellen G. White described Eve as beautiful, intelligent, and perfectly suited to be Adam's companion. Together, they reflected the image of God and shared responsibility for caring for the world entrusted to them. The Bible presents Adam and Eve as equal in value before God, each created with unique gifts and responsibilities. United in love and purpose, they enjoyed a relationship free from conflict, shame, or fear. Their home was filled with evidence of God's goodness. Every need was supplied. Every tree, flower, river, and living creature testified to the wisdom and creativity of the Creator. At the center of the garden stood two significant trees, the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. God gave Adam and Eve freedom to enjoy the garden and all its blessings. Only one restriction was placed upon them. They were not to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. This command was more than a simple rule. It represented trust, obedience, and the freedom to choose. Genuine love cannot exist without choice, and God desired willing obedience rather than forced submission. For a time, Adam and Eve lived in perfect harmony with their Creator. They walked in the beauty of Eden, surrounded by peace and blessed by God's presence. Yet beyond the boundaries of their perfect world, another story was unfolding. A fallen angel, once known in heaven for his beauty and influence, had rebelled against God. Now called Satan, he sought to spread rebellion and distrust wherever he could. The stage was set for one of the most consequential moments in human history. In the midst of paradise, humanity would soon face a test of faith, obedience, and loyalty to God. The next chapter of Genesis reveals how temptation entered the garden and how a single act of disobedience changed the course of human history forever.